Hey Skyfarers, and welcome to Aethercast, the Kharadron Overlords channel and podcast, where today we're talking about the FAQ and upcoming balance data sheet, or whatever they're going to give it a name for, that's AOS themed. Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to be predicting, speculating, wish listing, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. Hopefully, we're going to get anyone watching live involved as well. Get you know, giving you ideas for the points and that sort of thing. Joining me for tonight's show is my ever faithful Duardin Max Bowman.
Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
sir.
Hello, thank you.
And hopefully, depending on alarm clocks, we might be joined by Mr. Alexander Cron. To be fair to him, we hadn't officially arranged the start time. So that's kind of
Yeah, I was a bit confused because we said same as last time. I was like, oh yeah, 11 p.m. Then I looked on YouTube. Starts in 10 minutes. Like, oh.
No, because last time was that because the time zones have all changed, mate.
Yeah, they keep changing.
But yeah, hello to everyone in the chat as well. We've got
Jay Durfru, ever faithful.
Yeah.
Hello.
Smatter84 and Keith Dornan. So yeah, a couple of names that we don't normally have as well. That's cool.
Hello. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Hello to you guys.
Tom's not coming, is he?
I don't think so.
Because we had Tom Lyons in our chat, and was like, "Yeah, let's do a chat about this," and he like thumbs up, and we're like, "Oh, does that mean he's coming to the show?"
But, no, because you think it was just like, yes,
he might
you should do that
show. He might, but we doubt it.
I mean,
but stay tuned until the end because he might turn up.
Yeah, this is basically a KO themed version of Warhammer Weekly's show, and he didn't turn up for Warhammer Weekly show, so he's not going to turn up for us. We're low on the pecking order. Right.
We are. Yeah. We're too specialized.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
Cool. So before we dive into speculation and points changes and that sort of thing, let's talk about the news. So
yes, the news. Dragons are out. They're smaller than you think, aren't they?
They're bigger than you think. But maybe if you play against me, they might be smaller than you think.
Yes. So we had a fun moment before an hour in a different WhatsApp group where Lee has a great plan of converting KO dragons, Stormcast, Storm Drake dragons, and he asked for like a picture size comparison of the wings. Like how big are these wings? Because I'm not sure with the ones I have from, I think Admec is the bits you got.
Yeah, the Taraxi wings.
Turns out your dragon is like a quarter of the size of the real one.
Yeah.
So yeah, dwarf dragons. They're gonna be so cute. Now you have to make them.
Because I don't think there's any other way I can make them really. So,
I've looked into kit bashing Krondis with like the Archaeopter helicopter wings.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably too big for a normal dragon.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, you could stick wings on a Magmadroth,
but they are very expensive. They are 5 times the amount I paid for the Taraxi wings.
Are Magmadroths still that expensive? Surprised. Magmadroths are still that expensive?
No, the Archaeopter wings.
Oh, the wings, yeah, but you can get the whole helicopter for like, I don't know, probably £40.
Yeah, the problem is I'd have to buy 2 just to make dragons, which is the problem. So either I will have some very small dragons at some point, or some prosecutors, or some very big Aether wings.
Yeah, Aether wings could make Aether wings. Although there is a Necromunda Raven kit.
Yeah,
with mechanical birds, which is awesome if you want to kit bash some, or you want to make some KO birds. Mm-hmm. I already have 6 Aether wings, so too late, a year too late, but that's cool.
It could just be that whatever list I take to tournaments in the future will depend entirely whether they're happy with me taking dwarf dragons.
Well, they're cute, and as long as the base size is the same, because you can keep them 3 inches apart with their coherency rules.
Yeah. And
do it.
line of
They're-
sight, I would just be like, yeah, you get line of sight on me because it's fine because I'm too small.
Yeah, oh, you know how tall the actual model is, then you can do that.
Yeah, they're very tall models. They've got tall flight stands.
They are. The only thing I dislike about those flight stands, they're the acrylic ones from TW. The problem is that they go into the belly of the dragon, I think. So if you wanna, I've seen Jordan from Season of War. I've seen a picture of his dragons he's getting up painted, and he has these cool bases with pillars that he touched them on the side. That looks much more dynamic. I wonder if that, then you have to fill that hole and resculpt the belly of the dragon.
Probably.
Quite some work.
And it's funny that you mention a hole, because I've seen a couple of pictures of people with Quandis, but they'd be building him, and there's like a hole that shouldn't be there.
A hole? Where?
Yeah. Like on the front, so you know how he has his armor come down like this?
Yeah.
There's like a hole just a little bit further down. So either they put them all together wrong, or or there's been some mistakes with molding the models, or what.
Oh dear.
But hopefully it's not like a gun hauler issue where the kits just have that issue.
Yeah. I was planning to pick up my Krondis kit today. I pre-ordered it. Went to the shop. No dragons. Nothing had arrived yet. So yeah, I picked up 20 more dire wolves, 20 skeletons, and 20 zombies.
Just to clarify though, for the last 4 Aethercasts, you've been going, oh, the dragons have been in shops for months. Obviously not.
Yeah, but
obviously
not in my shop. Apparently not in my shop. I've known that an online shop has had them since.
Obviously, you bought from the wrong shop.
Yeah, because this one gives me 25% off, so that's the reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but dragons are out. There's no news really on the Nurgle book. Usually, you'd expect to be there some rules articles. On the week leading up to it. Maybe they announce it tomorrow, and then next week we'll have some Nurgle rules explanations that you like. They're super good. You can lose Unleash Hell. That kind of article. Or
all out defense.
all out defense is awesome on these guys. Because this week we had rules for some 40k stuff. The Golden Boys and the Gene Stealers. Although I learned today that their books have been postponed to January.
Okay.
So they were supposed to come out with that box, with that dual box, and they've been sent back to January. So there seems to be a lot of distress still from COVID and supply chain and that. So let's hope for the Nurgle Boys that they actually get their book before Christmas and their little wizard. But we'll talk about that, I guess, when the actual book is there and we've seen it. We had a rumor engine with what seems to be a Fire Slayer model.
Yeah, I mean it seems to be fairly clear. It's like one of their lanterns.
It is. I've painted so many Fire Slayers. I know that flame where they have the little golden runes inside the flame. So it seems like a Fire Slayer model with some sort of torch or flame thingy. My guess is it's the one hero in the rumored double army box against Aidan Deepkin. The week before, we had an image of a sword hilt that looked very Aidan-like, almost the same as their Aphelion King, I think the name is. So I guess those two come in the same box. You get a new hero each, exclusively in that box, nowhere else, plus a few units, and that's your box release. I believe that if this is true and April is the Fire Slayer book, then it's going to be a pure Fire Slayer book. It's not yet the rumored all dwarfs combined book, I think, because that is somehow tied to the narrative of the whole campaign, and we are still in Broken Realms, aren't we? Or like the Dawnbringer Crusade thingy. So nothing has really happened since summer. Narratively, so I guess the whole thing will pick up next summer with a new campaign, and before then I don't expect these things. So yeah, great. As Jay Durfer says, it's the 100th hero because that's what Fireslayer needs. They need another hero.
Yeah.
That's what that army desperately needs is another hero.
The only thing it could be that would actually be semi-different for all of them if it was like a hero on like a small salamander-y type thing, but not as big as a Magmadroth. So it was like a midpoint. I don't know.
They already have heroes on monsters and they have heroes on foot.
Yeah, so like a hero or a monster,
have
but cheaper.
Priests.
But the
I'm
Magmadroth
not
ones
sure
aren't
what
that expensive
role
anyway,
that.
though, are they? Because they're only like
200.
Yeah,
but for what they do, they're extremely expensive.
Yeah.
270 or 280 points for a Runefather on Magmadroth. And the Runefather does the Runefather things, and the Magmadroth just doesn't do anything. It's just a couple of more wounds on him, and that's it. Because it's a very bad monster in compared to other monsters. I don't know. I wouldn't even know what role that Fireslayer hero would take.
No, that's what I'm saying. So what can they do that's kind of different?
There's a fighty one, which is the Grimwrath Berserker and the Runefather. There's the buffing one, which is the Battlesmith. There's the two priests, the Rune Master and Rune Smiter. The one can tunnel, the other one can buff. I don't know. It's not going to be a wizard.
Maybe it's a monster hunter one. It's
but you could theoretically with artifacts you could kit out the Grimwrath as a monster hunter, so he does double damage against monsters. I think there's some weapon he can take. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's gonna be like a monster thing, and then a couple of months later we have a new edition and Gur isn't a thing and it's all shadowy and he's useless. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But exciting at least that KO gets something. A new book is always good for Fireslayers because they struggle a bit. I'd be happy to see if there's maybe some what are they called with Fireslayers? Not barrack. What's their
lodge?
Thing? Lodge. Yes, thank you. If there's a lodge like a Fring. Like here's the trading lodge, and you can take KO in or dispossess, and it's like a precursor of that combined book, maybe a bit more than Fring.
Yeah, although this is a good segue moment because there is also a short story in the latest White Dwarf. We're a bit late picking up on this actually because it's the November issue, and it's December.
Yeah, my excuse is it only arrived today, so
and my excuse was I glanced at it the night when it arrived the night before a tournament. Or the night before traveling to a tournament, so actually like 2 days before the tournament, but you know what I mean. And I was packing, and I thought, oh, that looks dwarfy, and then I saw Fireslayers. Like, okay, it's not KO. But yeah, anyway, there's Fireslayers in that, and there's Kharadron in that, and they don't like each other very much, and that is all I will say because I don't want to spoil it because I know Max hasn't read it.
Yeah, that is the ongoing narrative. They all don't like each other. Gotrek doesn't like Fireslayers. The Fireslayers don't like the KO because they just left during the Age of Chaos. The Dispossessed, they don't like anyone because they're just bitter because they lost everything. And the KO don't care about the others because they say, oh, you believe in gods, and that's nonsense. It's a big task for Grombrindal and Grogny to bring them all together. Just gonna say that. Just to reply to Smata84 and his comment, it will be another Runeson chucking a spear on foot. They already have that, and he's more useful than he used to because he's a 90-point hero to fill up a Warlord battalion. That's the only use he has.
He's cheap.
He's cheap. He has I think his command ability is he gives everyone a +1 to hit or a +1 to wound. I'm not sure which one of it is.
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's a good thing.
It's not as good as it used to be, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One other thing I want to say about that story is it does feature Kharadron Overlords getting on with other people quite well. I won't say any more than that.
If it's gonna be elves, I'm gonna write a letter.
No, it's not elves. Don't worry, it's not elves. But it's other non-Kharadron Overlords. That's all I say. Because if I say what species it is, then you get halfway through the story and it could spoil a bit of a twist.
Okay, well, read it for yourself. We're gonna spoil it next week.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Moving on. One other bit of news. It's not like official news, but it's like from the community. There is a very cool guy called Loic that is making a Kharadron Overlords themed advent calendar. So he has painted 24 models.
Those are halflings.
Well, some of yes, but they've got KO. They're like it's all KO themed, but he's done 24 models and he has them in a Warhammer shop in Paris. And what he's done is he's got like just empty bases out with the numbers on, and then each day they replace the empty base with the model.
Oh wow!
And so each day he's releasing a picture on Instagram and Facebook as well.
And these are gorgeously painted.
Yeah, they're very beautiful models as well, and with conversions and stuff. So yeah, if you want to check them out, go find them on Instagram. It's at Growick Musey, or one word. There is a link in the description as well. Well, not link, but like it's written down, so I don't need to spell it on screen. I'll spell it out to you. But yeah, do that after the show because it's really cool. And it's really nicely. Yeah, it's just like a small little warband. I don't think it's like done to be playable in any way. Like it's not. It's just random models. I think that evening's sort of cool. Sort of led by Jacob Bucknerson as Santa.
Yeah, I wonder how many kits he had to buy to do all those conversions. There's a Bugman. There's Thunderous so far.
What I will say is there's some unusual base sizes as well. There's like a rectangle small cavalry base. I don't know what that's going to be.
Okay.
I don't know. There's a lot of what look like 32mm bases, so maybe it's got quite a few Thunders. I don't know.
That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, very nice. Thing to show everyone. Okay, so I don't think there's any other news, is there? No. Silence is a no. So let's move on to talking about the potential FAQ and balance thing, whatever they're going to call it, because they will give it a fancy name. If you have suggestions for what Age of Sigmar style name they might give it, put them in the chat. We might get some fun ones. Because is it the data
it's going to
slate?
It's data slate, so it's going to be something with scroll or tone.
Oh, okay. Or the balance scroll. I hope it's not that, because that's quite boring. No.
Yeah, it's going to be something stupid.
The scroll of balancing.
Okay.
So obviously there will be Kharadron Overlord stuff, but there will also hopefully be more wide-reaching changes that will affect the whole game, because there will be I don't know, FAQs and things, and I don't know, hopefully changes. They will respond to comments that people have had. Quite a few of these things are just pretty much straight out lifted and stolen from Vince from Twitter. Showing some of them. I've missed off some of the things because I don't like some of his things. I think getting rid of reroll saves of 1. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not that massively important to the game.
No, and it is in newer books. So it is in the Soul Blight book, which was written for AOS 3. So I don't think that's their intent.
I think we can all agree save stacking needs some sort of change, potentially. Or it'd be nice.
I mean, we are talking. If we expect this, we are expecting major rules changes. And previous FAQs, they clarified some problems. And basically they changed some points. That's all they ever did beforehand.
The 40k thing hasn't just done that though. They have actually changed.
No, exactly. The 40k thing has actually changed problematic rules. I think they had a problem with flyers and some other things. So they looked at everyone and did some tweaks. I'm not sure if they're 100% correct, but at least they did something. First thing, I'm not sure if they're going to put the same amount of work and effort into Age of Sigmar, because it is the much smaller game system for them.
It's also like the really, really new edition, so they might be adverse to making changes. It is a new edition.
If they do, I'd be surprised, and I'd be positively surprised. I was surprised by the Dragon FAQ that they put out before people bought them, and they explained why. I think they're still very, very strong. And what the hell were they doing in playtesting beforehand? But okay, people have talked about this. Let's not repeat that. So I can see changes in things like clarifying certain things that are uncertain. For example, here we have the bodyguards mentioned. That stacking with wards sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't. Maybe they'll clarify that.
This will be third time lucky, hopefully, because I've changed it twice now.
I'm not sure they will go into major things like how save rolls and save stacking work.
No, you see, this is the thing that I think, because Vince made a suggestion that saves of 1 and 2 always fail unless you have a 2+ save on your war scroll, which I think is going into just changing how saves, how the rolls work too much. But I think what they can do is just completely just change an ability quite easily.
Perhaps they maybe what I can see is something like they cannot go further than a 2+. Because now you have characters on a 3-up save, and then they give a Mystic Shield, a Finest Hour, and all out defense, and they're basically on a -1 to then ignore 2 red.
Yeah,
and still be on a 2+.
And
maybe they'll do that. Okay, it cannot go. You cannot improve more than 2+, and then all the rend applies. So they're back to a 4-up or a 5-up.
See, what I have here, and I'll read it out because obviously this goes out as a podcast later for people and they don't see the screen. I would like to see all out defense and Mystic Shield both. Or what they do is they just keep cover.
So they
can. Finest Hour goes to a 6+. Goes to a 6+ ward, because cover doesn't stack. That's already like in the rules. It might potentially need clarifying because I know in the previous edition people made that mistake as well. They thought, with Arden keep king, and then they were on terrain. They're like, oh, do I get +2 save now? I'm like, no, you don't. But it might need clarify. But this does a number of things you don't realize because units of 10 or more wounds, or models with a 10 or more wounds characteristic, don't get cover. So straight away, all the problem things, like the big massive dragony monstery things, the things like Mega Gargants, just you can't get all out defense, can't get Mystic Shield.
And then that might be a bit too strong as a change, in my opinion. Because now you're devaluating massively the big hero monster things, and the whole edition seems to be they want the big guys doing heroic things and influencing games. They're god models. If you do that, like Teclis, he's on a 4-up save. He'll be screwed by this.
Yeah, I mean it could be as well that they just say it gives cover even if they can't normally get cover, but then it still stops it with the stacking issue. But then it means that they can.
Yeah, I agree. What we need to address is something where, like, they just don't die. It's impossible to kill them, and this also translates into your next point, which is Amulet of Destiny. That if you have a lot of wounds and you have high saves, and then you add a war save on top, then it's just nonsense.
And in theory, potentially, it depends how they sack save stacking, nerf save stacking, but if it's enough, then Amulet of Destiny isn't actually that bad. It is really, really awful now because you can do it on something that also has +2 to its save or +3 to its save.
That's one part of the problem. The other main part is, and we have said this before, and there's a nice show by Jonas Wargamer and Colonel Cabbage, I think his tag is, that the more wounds you have, the more effective it is. And a Mega Guardian with 40 wounds that you can have with a trait, adding a 5-up ward save on top just gives him that much more effective wounds. Maybe I can see something because the magic number seems to be 10 or more wounds for many things: garrisons, line of sight blocking, cover, and so on. Look out, sir. I can see that they say models with 10 or more wounds cannot have this Amulet of Destiny.
That'd be an easy fix. I haven't written it on here because it's quite complicated. But Vince did have an interesting suggestion for this, which is it's on a 2+, but it ignores the last wound to be allocated to a model. So, you put it on a Mega Gargant, the first 34 wounds they don't get any ward save, and then when you go to allocate that last wound, they have a 2+. And
Yeah,
then
that
if you've
might.
got, because what that does is it doesn't matter how many wounds the model has. Statistically, it's always the
sixth
same
one goes
number.
through.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
I don't know. I like my solution more because it's just more elegant. Just can't be put on. Add this to the rules text. Cannot be put on heroes with 10 or more wounds. Done.
Yeah.
And then I'm perfectly fine with it.
But yeah, generally it's just too easy to defensively buff things in the game at the moment.
Yes, and either the answer is mortal wounds for everyone, or higher rend. We have seen that with Stormcast. Many things have 2 rend. 2 rend before in Age of Sigmar 2 was very rare.
Yeah.
There were some things with 3 rend, like the Prime, but I mean, he is the Prime. He should have the Galmaraz super rend. Even Gotrek only has 2. So we have seen that on normal troops with rend 2. So that's, you're pushing up the saves, I'm pushing up the rend, and all the old books get left behind. And then we have seen mortal wounds. We are expecting it also from Nurgle. So, do all the save stacking, but I'm just going through mortal wounds, and then you have the old problem of haves and have-nots. There's these people that just don't have mortal wounds, like KO, apart from a few exceptions. And then I don't think that save rend mortal wound race, that arms race is the solution. It shouldn't be.
No, because it just creates haves and have-nots, which is not good.
Yeah. If you take it away, you open the playing field for more armies. Like now they can still do better damage, but you do not diminish the ones that do mortal wounds, like Lumineth. Their whole output is mortal wounds. Everything else doesn't do any damage. It's just through mortal wounds. And if you say, okay, I'm gonna up the rend on these guys, they don't care. They're still gonna do their mortal wounds. It's the same. It stays the same for them. So maybe that's also an interesting solution. I don't know. But again, now you're changing core mechanics of the whole game. I'm not sure if they're going that far in a winter update.
Yeah, maybe. I can see them changing just like, here's an ability that you can do. We'll change that, rather than how abilities interact with each other or how dice rolls work, and that sort of thing starts getting too much. Okay, let's move on. Coherency. This is just a simple one. It's changing a number. So it's
why would you say 1 to 6?
Because there's
lots. How's that different from 1 to 4 or 1 to 7?
Because there's lots of units that are in 6s or 3s.
And there's counter argument. There's lots of units in 5s.
But the 5s are fine. If you have a unit of 5, then they're fine with the coherency rules, and just by having one more model, there's not units of 7, 8, 9.
But there's no unit of 6. There's units of 3.
Yeah.
And you make them 6. It's your choice. It's your risk and reward thinking. So yeah, I'd love it for Ending Riggers, Skywarns, that kind of thing. But I don't see this happening.
We mentioned bodyguards, and then battalions is an interesting thing here. And you can see I've got a question mark on that because first of all, there's 2 things about battalions. There's some good battalions and some bad ones. Because there's some that you see a lot of and some that you just don't see people using. So either they need to make the bad ones better, or they need to make the good ones worse.
How many, what were they called? The big battalions, War Scroll battalions, do you ever see? In the 2nd edition? The super battalions?
Mean the super battalions? Very, very, very rarely.
Okay. Why? Because mostly they were shit, or they were too expensive?
Mostly they were like narrative things, and they cost like 4,000 points to do.
Well, in Shootcast we had the super battalion with 2 battalions, and that gave them the 1 drop. But you could do some of them, or even different example. You saw, why did you always see the Change Host battalion? I don't know what the real name was, and never the other ones, because one was good and the other was shit. It's the same thing. It's always been that. I don't think that's an argument for changing it.
Okay, so
I understand your point. You say, well, why take this or why take that? It doesn't really do much.
There is because there's potentially just needs clarifying how they work, because of it all comes down to what they do is they allow you to use a command ability, or normally a particular command ability, without it being issued and without spending a CP, but it still counts to how many you've used per turn, and whether it's meant to count for that. Because if it doesn't count for that, then actually they're potentially quite good, because you could take Vanguard and you could run like 4 units if you have multiples of them.
Okay. Yeah, but then that's just a clarifying thing. Like if you use a command ability instead of you spending a CP, it doesn't count as, and you can do it twice, and so on. Yeah,
so that sort of thing. That's a simple way they could improve them.
They could improve them, but I don't see that as a major game problem currently.
No.
The problem is there's one battle regiment which everyone wants to be 1-drop. If not, then why go 3 or 4 drops? Then you just go Hunters of the Heartlands and the Warlord, or Command Entourage if you lack the troop.
Yeah, I don't think this is a major issue for the game, but it would be like a nice to have.
Sure, absolutely.
And it would be nice to have the FAQ clarifying it, because it's a question that comes up anyway. People ask, and then it's like you see it in WhatsApp chats, and that people are like, oh, if I take this, can I use,
Okay, but then we're talking about improving the understanding of the rules.
Yeah. So you're right, it's nice. And then the other question about battalions is, well, it's not really a question, but it's a little bit weird, is the ones in the core rules you can currently take more than one of if you want to, and the ones in the GHB you can't.
Yep.
So I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's been suggested by Vince that you shouldn't be able to take multiples of the core rules.
Of anything.
And I hadn't considered that before, but then I thought back at recent tournaments and I realised, I did come up against double battle regiment quite a lot. To get 2 drops. Because they couldn't build something at 1 drop. They didn't want to be 3 drops, but you can quite easily
double, or what you see is double Warlord for 2 extra artifacts.
Yeah, or double Command Entourage.
I think we need to differentiate a bit between the core ones and the GHP. The GHP is going to go away in 9 months, no, less than that. 7 months, 8 months, when we'll get the new one. The Hunters of the Heartlands currently is very powerful, so I'm super up to just having one of that. I don't want to fight an entire army that is ignoring my monster stuff if I bring a monster army. 3 units is already very strong. Limiting the overs to 1.
See, I'm not sure how I feel about it, because
I don't mind.
It's taking away choice, which is not necessarily a good thing. It gives there's less choices in this building then, which is not something I'm necessarily always a fan of, but
it is. I mean, the 2 problematic ones are extra artifact or low drops. Low drops brings you into the discussion double turn. Who goes first? Who gets double turn priority rolls? That's as old as Age of Sigmar discussion. Let's not go down that roll. And I don't think that's something they want to touch or change currently. Artifacts is the lesser of the evil, because then where it becomes evil, so to say, is within the battle tome. Because now you can take amulet and the same specific one which does the same, and you have 2 war saves, and that's then dependent on the book. Maybe the book doesn't have good artifacts, they don't care. The other ones, I don't think anyone would mind if I have double Vanguard and I have 2 units running.
No, exactly.
No one will ever care. So if they change, fine. It makes list building a bit more a challenge for some armies, maybe. If they don't, I'm fine
Yeah,
either.
so
I don't care.
it'd be interesting to see if they do it. I can't imagine they will, actually. I don't think there's been really a big outcry from people about it.
No, that's why I'm surprised to see it here. I have just to say I have not watched the Warhammer Weekly show because I've seen it's 4 hours long, and I'll need to watch it in a couple of sessions. But if you have the time, go and check it out because it's always.
I mean, it's a really good show.
It is absolutely a good show, and there's very
guy.
interesting comments in there. Yeah.
One thing I will add just before we move on is I don't think it really come from Vince or any of his guests, but they, when they like us interact with the people in the chat and stuff, there were comments about, just not having drop count tied towards who goes first. And then it brings up a thing which wasn't brought up on their show, which is what is the point of battle regiment then? Because if you don't have it, who goes first tied to how many drops you are, then there's nothing tied to how many drops you are, and therefore there's never an incentive to be low drops.
No, because you're showing your hand.
Yeah, there's no incentive to be low drops then, so it's like, why would you do it? And then, so you might as well just, if you're going to do that, you might as well actually just say, remove battle regiment from the game. Just have that in the FAQ to be like, delete this.
Yeah, and then why? It doesn't.
And then it's just everyone's just using Warlord and Command Entourage.
Yeah, no.
And Hunters and Heartlands as well.
I don't expect that change. I don't see it as problematic.
No.
There's more problematic things in the game. I think mostly problematic. I mean, the game still works. It's still fun. Maybe it's more of a frustrating for some armies thing.
And it's more, sometimes it's like when you're just looking at the rules as a design piece and you're critiquing it. It's like, okay, well, that's not great there. It's not a problem, but it's like, okay. It's like choosing a thing in the Sistine Chapel and going, oh, I don't like that brush stroke over there. Okay. Last thing, Unleash Hell. Do you think the range needs decreasing?
The range, you mean the 9-inch range or the range of the weapon?
The 9-inch range.
No. Because then if it's 3 inches, then it's just a unit that got charged. If it's 6 inches, you can easily avoid it, probably, because it's very hard to plant your shooting unit within 6 of where he charges, or she. I think 9-inch is a good range. It's not too far. It's the same with redeploy. You can play around it. And maybe
9 inches has become very much a set thing in Age of Sigmar, isn't it? It's like
sure. And I think it could, because it's 9 inches, because that's the whole deep striking range, because it is hard to roll an unmodified 9 with 2d6. So it's a good number, I think. But do we see Unleash Hell as such a big problem?
I don't, but then I have an army that shoots.
Yes, but everything is shooting with a -1.
Unleash Hell is one of those things that I don't think about the range on it that much. But if I think back to the very first game of third edition I played against you, and you had that big unit of Iron Drakes, and everything was within 9 inches of them. There was impossible to charge anything.
Yeah, that's why I asked weapon range, because if you then also change the weapon range to 9 inches, that might solve. Then not everyone is getting to shoot you.
Yeah.
As Jay Durfer is pointing out in the chat, the only problem with Unleash Hell is mortals and hits. I'd go further. It's not just mortals and hits, but it's mortal wound shooting, because they don't care about.
It's just a problem in the game.
Like dragons, I just roll a dice, and whatever I roll is how many mortal wounds you get. Or the Hurricanum, for example, it just shoots its 3 dice, and a 2+ each one does a d3 mortal wounds. There's no to hit or nothing. They don't care. I think having a -1 to hit to it is a good balance to the shooting, and you cannot buff that. with a command point or anything, because it's in the it's not in the shooting phase, it's in the charge phase. Where in the game is this super obnoxious? Sentinels, because they don't care what if it's minus 20, because it's the unmodified 5 and 6s. Maybe bow snakes, because unmodified hits to 6 make a mortal wound. But those units have other issues.
They're
Not
a problem in the
Unleash
game
Hell is not.
generally.
They're not a problem because of Unleash Hell. They're a problem because of mortal wound shooting.
Yeah.
And the range of mortal wound shooting, because salamanders have mortal wound shooting, and it's 12 inches, and I see it's much less of an issue. Cruel Boys, yes, J. Durfu, yeah, but then that's a combination of the whole thing. I can issue a command to 3 units, and I have 3 units unleashing hell on me now instead of 1. Where the base rule actually, the limitation was it's 1 unit with a -1 to hit. Yeah.
This is one of the
so I
things
think that's a problem. Not from Unleash Hell or the mechanic of Unleash Hell. I think it's a problem with the units using it. Maybe.
I could see this being a sort of change they might potentially make. It's one of those things. If they made it, I wouldn't go, "Oh, that's a massive surprise." But equally, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't do it, because if they did do it, I think it would be 3 inches. I reckon, because it's just then it's like, okay, you've charged them, but that unit's in combat now.
Like the last word, basically.
Yeah.
You need to shoot what charged into you.
And there's some sort of, like, if you want to set up then to be able to unleash hell with a unit behind a screen or something, you still have to put them in some sort of danger to things with long range melee weapons and stuff. So,
then it becomes a thing used by the unit itself that gets charged, basically.
No, because it can still be behind a screen. Because you can
but then you put them in. Yeah, but setting that up is a nightmare.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why
because with the whole MSU, you have your big unit here and there, and they're shooting me. I'm just gonna charge them on this corner, because how Age of Sigmar works, all the attacks go into one model and are allocated to the unit. I don't care if I charge the one corner or the other corner. I don't need to charge like in fantasy, where you actually need to get your people in contact with another model to make them hit. And I don't expect that to change. I don't see it as problematic.
Just reading the chat. Jerry says, go back to save stacking. Gave 1 R. If all attack gave 1 R instead of it,
one reroll.
Reroll 1s to 1. Is that what you mean?
All of the attack gave reroll 1s instead of +1 to hit.
Saying gave +1 rend. I think that's instead of, because it would be used exactly to counter all out defense. That would be interesting, potentially.
Yeah, I can see it. Although I don't see the +1 to hit as problematic.
No,
because it can never be more than +1. So okay, it's a +1.
No, I don't think he's saying to nerf all out attack. I think he's saying to make all out attack better and to deal with the issue of save stacking a bit. It's like, oh yeah, you can get +1 save, but I can get +1 rend. So you push all of your attacks rather than getting more attacks through. You get more of your attacks go through the saves.
Yeah, that's been something that has been discussed in the early release of AOS3. That we said, why not give it a rend more? Because you're hitting that more ferociously, swinging your axe.
Yeah. Or in the case of pulling the trigger harder.
Although beware, because now you're giving everyone access to +1 rend.
Yeah.
That can be extremely powerful. I mean, look at Iron Drakes with the Ruler Prayer. You're giving him 1 rend more. That's makes it so much better. If you're giving every stupid gobbo 1 rend, then you're just reversing the whole thing. Currently, it's 1 rend is no rend. Now, +1 save is no save because everyone can get +1 rend. So you just flip the whole script, and it didn't change anything. So I would be very cautious with that. But then I'm not.
Yeah, I wouldn't
a
be
game
against
designer.
it, but I don't. I mean,
I
Thunderers
don't
with
think it solves the
rifles.
problem.
Thunderers
It'll
with
just-
rifles going to +2 to 2 rend would be a
It's
lot
just
better.
gonna change the whole. No, no. The more I think about it, the less I like it. Because then you have fulminators running around with free rend.
It's potentially dangerous. Is the problem, isn't it?
It is horrible. No, J-Durfer, no.
Okay, let's move on to Kharadron changes then. So potential changes they could make to Kharadron Overlords. Feel free to make suggestions in the
changes
chat.
or corrections.
Well, there's one here that's like a correction says clarification, but then the rest are changes. Because that's if they follow the 40k model, they could potentially do things just like, okay, well, this ability gets changed to make it better, or we add an ability here or something. So I've got some things that I think. First of all, just disembarking. We just need an answer for that one way or the other.
And
there's
we need
some debate about
our
it,
own
and it's being played.
Rule. Don't put it in the garrison rules in the core book. Put disembarking as their own rule. That counts as a garrison, but you can do this.
Yeah.
They can, instead of leaving a garrison, they can disembark. Disembarking is this rule in your book. That's what it should have been from the beginning. Why are you tying core mechanics of one battle tome into a GHB or a core book that's getting changed? And it's just not a good design, in my opinion.
We're going to come to it in a minute, but
yes.
same issue with Triumphs.
It's exactly the same thing. So make it their own little extra rule on each sky vessel war scroll. Add this rule. Disembarking, you can disembark whenever you want and however you think it's good. So I'd say how it used to be was good before the ship moves. That's easy to remember. You can get in and out before the ship departs. Fine by me. That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
I don't think it will completely change or overpower the army or the play style. Because you still cannot get in, move, and get out. That's still forbidden because that's 2 moves. And yeah, I agree. They need to clarify because currently it's the way it is mostly understood. The rule is end of moving phase, and then the ship can't move, and you're just stuck.
Yeah,
I believe that was just an oversight by them.
Yeah, there's still there's other tournaments that are playing completely differently. So you've got KO at some tournaments being played in one way, and then KO at another tournament being played a completely different way, which makes a huge difference to how many bodies they can get on objectives, which is the core way you play the game. So
yeah, and then make a super extra guild triumph where you can disembark after the ship has moved. Basically, the attack squadron.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll come to triumphs in a minute. First of all, Aether Gold.
Aether Gold.
Riggers need a way to get Aether Gold. Riggers and Wardens. So either make it units of 6 or more.
Unpopular opinion. No.
What, don't do it?
No, I don't think it needs to change. Boats heroes 10 or more. That's fine. Because riggers only ever got it in units of 12. And that was a very special case. Like the 12 Skywards they were great in Zona and I love them. But especially with how gold is now, it's useless. Apart from the inspiring presence. So no, I don't think we need that. No. It's not. Let me rephrase. It's not going to help us. I think it
would help riggers and wardens, which are being used very sparsely.
To run, then if you're going to put at 9, first it's an odd number because it only applies to those 2
but it would be obvious why it's been done.
But then you're already putting 2 reinforcements.
If you make it 9 or more, it doesn't change the way. Fun. Sorry, we're talking at the same time. Then.
To get 9 riggers already you're spending 2 reinforcement points.
Yeah.
To
So
get
that's
a
the thing.
gold
It's going to be
on
9.
riggers.
And the other option as well is it just says reinforced units, which is then bad for Arcanauts. Because you don't get gold on Arcanauts until they get to 20s then.
Yeah.
Which
it's
is
gonna
then
make
going
it,
against how they're originally
no,
designed.
I don't think there's an elegant thing there, so I'd leave it. I don't think it's that bad. I mean, we played plenty with 6 ender riggers all through 2nd edition, and it was fine. And they didn't have a gold, and it was fine. And it was those few armies that brought 12 to have a big shooting unit in the back, or to have 12 Skywarns that went nuts on Catacross. Okay. But then the Triumph was much better.
The other thing is what are they good at doing with gold? Because, I mean, the +1 wins they could use. Riggers aren't going to use it in combat because they ruin it too. And I don't know, would you want to put Skywardens into combat when they've got -1 rend? Like the riggers, you can make a case for it because they've got -2, but the gold it's not going to make any difference there.
No.
It would maybe help with their shooting.
The problem is
3+3+.
the Triumphs. That gold is linked to Triumphs, and the Triumphs are bad currently.
Okay. Well, that's
maybe next edition they're super good again. So.
Okay, let's talk about Triumphs. I've got some suggestions here. I haven't thought these through massively. You just come up with an interesting one. So we'll talk about yours first, which was you get to get out of the boat
after moving.
After moving, would that be
after the ship
thing that the boat uses, or a thing that the unit uses?
The unit is jumping out of the.
Okay, they spend their gold. That actually is quite dramatic.
Throw the gold overboard.
They literally just get out without taking their gold with them. It's like, we've got to get out so quick,
they
guys.
abandon
We're just going to leave the gold behind.
Leave everything behind, and get out.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah. Jump out of the
It's like doing the fire drill when it's like, don't take your stuff.
Exactly.
Just get out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that could actually be pretty interesting as a mechanic for KO to get onto objectives.
It's similar. Does a similar thing to my second one here, which is units in the boat can count for an objective. So you just don't get them out, but once per game you can just say, okay, well that unit counts.
That's interesting because units in a normal garrison, they count.
Yeah.
And if that terrain piece is 0.1 inch onto the objective, all the 30 models inside that garrison count as being on that objective.
Yeah, which is stupid.
So why shouldn't the boat?
No.
Okay, the boat.
Now I can see the problem is the boat can move. The thing is, a garrison and wall piece of terrain just shouldn't be set up so it's partially on within range of an objective.
Well, 3 inches is a rule.
Yeah. Well, if it's a garrison and wall terrain piece, it should be 6.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I think that would make it problematic because then you can shove your boat like a tiny bit of the ironclad base onto your objective, and boom, all 25 models inside count plus the boat, so 26 models.
Yes.
It might be a bit too strong.
It depends because if it's triumph for the unit spends their triumph and then they count, as opposed to the boat spends triumph and all the units inside count. Then it's not that strong.
It's the boat plus 20 Arcanauts. It's 21. Still very good.
Yeah. You obviously said you haven't watched Warhammer Weekly. They went through every army and gave suggestions. One of their suggestions was basically this: that one unit in a boat account. They didn't link it to triumphs. They just said, well, one unit in a boat can count towards an objective, and I think that's potentially too strong. Because unless it's limited per one boat per round as well.
It is too strong in combination with teleporting.
It's not even just teleporting because it's just like a hero phase move where you just, they think they zoned you out and then you move 10, then 10 again. If it's if multiple boats can do it, because the good thing about Triumphs is it's limited to once per phase. So you couldn't do it with multiple boats. Or multiple units. If you could do it with multiple boats,
it's too good. It's too good.
Yeah.
No,
because it's that whole 1 millimeter, lots of guys onto
I mean,
objective thing, which is a
it
problem.
was the whole, even in AOS 2, it was that models in a garrison do not count towards contesting objectives. And I read that, and I was like, oh, but then it's like, that's
That
actually
makes
good.
sense. Yeah.
It makes sense, because it would be very oppressive. Now, the problem is, if this is a triumph, because you
It
can
doesn't work.
you can
Triumphs work in
plan
a
for
phase.
triumphs.
Yeah.
Triumphs work in a phase, but also you get triumphs. You can list build for a triumph. You say, I'm going on 1950 points. and I choose the triumph now. I don't roll for it. I choose it. I'm pretty 80% sure I'm going to get it, and then so I can do this twice with the same boat unit combo. I can use once the gold from the unit, and next I can use the triumph that I rolled for.
If you had some Kharadron Overlords specific triumphs, you could say these can only be used with Aether Gold. So you could still limit it.
Yes, but sorry, I'm just letting in a cat, but she's stuck. Get in. Yes, I know. Jeez.
So you could limit it, but then it's still a case of like, a unit you could get a triumph to give that unit +1 to wound, and then still they have their triumph left, their Aether Gold left over at the end of the turn.
Yes. I mean, currently as it works, you could. She has wet feet.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I know. It's yes. I'm trying to kill you. Yes, this is horrible. I'm sorry. Call Peter. Yeah. Torturing.
So.
Torture.
Yeah, I mean, your suggestion about getting out of the boat. Oh, where are you going? We've lost Max. Okay, I'm looking to critique his suggestion without him. So the issues with getting out of the boat with a triumph is it's not just for objective play. It could have some very strong potential for getting into range with units to shoot something behind screens, for Thunderers to get their buff, to get Arcanauts into range of things, that sort of thing. So it has a lot of potential strength there. Oh, you're back. I was just saying that your suggestion to get units out of a boat with a triumph has a lot of other potential uses, like getting the buff for Thunderers, getting units into range to shoot things and stuff.
Setting up screens.
It does also mean that you have to put that unit into harm's way because they lose cover.
Yeah, sure. So it's a
and you
gain
need the
something
place,
and you lose
the
something.
space to put them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's very similar to, I don't know, Radukar the Beast is a model from Soulblight, and he once per game, end of his movement phase, he can summon for free for a command point. Some direwolves, 10 direwolves, which is great because he can run forward, and then 9 inches, no, wholly within 12 of him, 9 inches away, he can pull out these wolves. It's not as good because they need to be 9 inches away, but it's great to set up screens and get board control. And you can easily do this with Arcanauts. I mean, who cares about Arcanauts if they die? Just throw out that frigate, and it actually would give more play to frigates, I believe.
And just
delivering
just be able to, you teleport somewhere, your ship somewhere, then you set up a screen is massively different to teleport somewhere and being then right now you get charged by a big monster that's going to kill you. So
we have one suggestion by Jerry Dorfer, which I like, is a +1 rend triumph. I'd make it to make it less bad, because before we said getting more rend is hard. I'd make it just for Skyvessels, or maybe just frigates and ironclads, not the gunholder, because he's not.
Gunholder gets to +4 rend.
And then you can get no, you get the
I mean,
that's another side effect. I haven't thought about it yet. Yes, so no gunholder. But then,
do you not think it's really powerful on an ironclad though? Getting an ironclad to -2.
It should be. I mean, now an ironclad, you shoot something with a free up save with all out defense, you do 2 damage, and that's a quarter of my army. It should be powerful, and it's a once per game thing. I can use it with the ironclad. Say, okay, 2 rend, It's not more powerful than 2 Stormblade Guard, and it's more points. It's the same profile.
This is
same attack.
similar to the first triumph I've got listed here, which is 6s to hit 2 mortal wounds.
I think
basically they both
models-
resolve around making up more of our damage go through, or taking the it's
6
making
is
it's an
mortals or
improvement to
more
shooting.
rend. I like the more rend because we often have multiple damage hidden behind that rend.
Mm-hmm.
But then you can
It
still
swings
save
and
it.
roundabouts.
So
because 6s to hit 2 mortal wounds is very good on some units like Thunderers with rifles, and less good on other units where they have small numbers of attacks.
yeah.
And the -1 Ren Triumph would be really good on stuff like an Ironclad.
But
Actually, to be fair, they'd both be really good on Thunderers. Actually, Thunderers rifles.
That's why I'd say like give him the rune enhanced bullets, and then it's just Ironclads. Like bring out the good shells to shoot.
Yeah.
I maybe
The
if we could have like a Bellacore triumph list, which is ship triumphs. I don't know.
Funny comment. We should not fight mortal wound cancer with more mortal wound cancer. That's a good point. Yeah, we should maybe not proliferate the amount of mortal wounds in the game.
No.
And then the last one, which is kind of filler, was the 6+ ward for triumph, because you don't want to.
We have that with a gun hauler.
Yeah, it's basically just like you don't need to have a gun hauler nearby this time. Triumphs, if we get triumphs, they're going to come in freeze, aren't they?
They used to be 6s.
Well,
then they went down to 3.
Then there was 3, then there was 6, then there was 3, and now there's 3 again. And then, but if you look at the ones for the heroes, they've got 2. Okay, so maybe they don't come in freeze.
They got 2 each, but it's 3 heroes.
Yeah.
So 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I don't care. Maybe that'd be a nice thing to give, but it's more of a here have some extra rules. It's not we need to correct this or change this. It's have something extra. I'm getting that inside a what is it, an FAQ PDF, which will then be revoked in 6 months. Is maybe not a good idea again, because then where is it? It's like in this document, but then the document is cancelled and it's gone again. So if it's not in a publication like a Broken Realms book, it's difficult. So I don't see them changing it. I don't think they'll go that far to help a KO. Because then why KO? Why not all the other armies? And then everyone gets new. And basically, you're printing 24 new books.
It's either that or they just change the way some rules work. Like for instance,
they need to clarify some things and maybe change some things, but they will not add that much to an army.
They will make simple changes, like a bit like the errata they did to Gorgrunters to give them -2 rend. That sort of thing could happen. Like it could just be take this and this is better. Reword this ability and it does something slightly different now, which actually buffs you.
It could be just rules clarifications and few points, and that's the whole thing. I would not be surprised.
And then lastly, I don't think these are necessary. These suggestions for Skyvessels come from Vince's suggestions when they went through the KO section. One of them I've added, but ships count as 5 models and objectives. It makes sense because they're big, massive models. They're behemoths. They just don't happen to have the monster keyword.
The behemoth ships, yeah.
I think really it should just actually the core rules should just be models with 5 or more wounds count as 2 models objective. Models with 10 or 12 more wounds count as 5, rather than being the monster keyword. Maybe not 10 wounds because then it does it to gun haulers. But
what I like to see with the Sons of Behemoth is they count as how many wounds they currently have. And that could be easily go for the behemoth ships as well. So gun hauler counts as 2 because it's 10 or more, The other ones, the Ironclad starts at 18, but then degrades, and it's easy to degrade. And same with a Gargan.
Yeah. The issue
It starts
is
at
with this.
35, and then it just goes down.
The issue with like buffing how many models a sky vessel counts for is if you then also do the thing where one unit can count, and then all of a sudden it's like,
no,
all of
absolutely.
a
It
sudden
needs
the
to be one or
objective
the other, not both.
It's one of these things that would be nice because it gives a different dynamic to the way KO can play, because it actually just gives us some objective game.
Well, with all these changes that we discussed, also with Unleash Hell and getting our units onto objectives and counting us more, is it gets your ships into combat, basically. It gets your ships closer to the enemy, which is something I think also our opponents would like.
Yes.
To actually get a hand on that ship. So it's a two-edged sword, I think. Could be great.
Yeah.
Could also be very bad, because then, well, boom, your ships are gone around too, because they were too close.
But yeah, I think it's better because we've always traditionally played on like, okay, you need to just kill stuff to get the objectives, because we weren't
and that doesn't work. We're safe stacking now. So now I agree. It'd be
of course,
interesting.
you can just make us better. You can just give us points drops, and you can just make us shoot stuff better. But actually, giving us a way to play the objective game better is more interesting. Rather than it's better for the opponents. It's more engaging. It's less about, okay, we just shot me off the board and that's it. Because we don't have a problem against some armies.
Different, and it would make engine riggers better, because then you'd see a lot of MSU, like units of 3, 2 units of 3 hanging onto a boat, joining
because
that
they
boat
count the amount of models, and then the
because
models,
they count
the
because they're
Ironclad's
outside, and they can repair and they can defend the Ironclad. And
the Ironclad's counting as 18, and then it takes some wounds.
Well, then, make it count 5.
So it's back up to 18.
Yeah. Make it count 5, and the units inside. Sure. So you need to get that Ironclad onto that objective. So you need a little, convoy of engine riggers to fight off the people we've run to repair the ship, to guard it, to screen it. It would give engine riggers a purpose again.
You'd want, because they can be used as screens to an extent as well.
But they're expensive screens. They're too expensive for the screen.
Okay. Lastly,
I could just use Ether Wings for that.
Monsters for battle tactics.
No.
No? Do you think that's going too far?
It
does make Savage Spearhead very good.
Yes, but
then just be a thing on the what is the... This counts as a monster for battle tactics. That's it. So just when you're doing a battle,
William Bromley, this is just tinfoil hat wish listing from Lee, and I'm telling him why it's stupid. This is nothing confirmed. This is not happening.
No, none of this stuff is real. None of this stuff
it's just
happening.
us wishing and hoping, or suggesting, or
and talking about
discussing if it'd be interesting. Well. No, because I think a Doombell from Skaven is not a monster. Artilleries are not monsters, but some of them are behemoths. So no, I don't think war machines should be monsters.
I don't think all war machines
monsters should be a living monster thing.
But
because the ship doesn't go in and I'm gonna eat this battle line. No, the ship is just a tool. It shoots wherever I tell it to shoot.
Right.
Why is it better now? Why do I get an extra point for doing it with a war machine?
Why do you get an extra point for doing it with a monster?
Because it's a monster. It's rampaging, and it's Gur, and it's the spirit of the lands, and it's doing what nature calls it to.
Yeah, it's just a random buff for monsters, and I think that the Skyvessels in a KO army take up like such an important part of the army that they should have some sort of buff.
Counter argument: you can build armies with just ships, so pure monster builds. I don't know. I would not put them on par with monsters, because yeah, that's a good point from Jay Durfer. Do you not think Warp Lightning Cannon should declare Titanic duel with a frigate? No, it's an unanimated thing.
No, because I haven't suggested the monstrous actions. I said for battle tactics, because they shouldn't get monstrous actions. They shouldn't be able to stomp or anything. That is just stupid. Like, they should be able to stomp. But like running 3 units or running 3 Skyvessels and getting an extra point.
Then that makes it complicated, because then already so many opponents ask me, so is the Ironclad a monster? Say, no, it's not a monster. Oh, okay. So I can't bring it up. Like, no. And then I go in, yeah, but now it counts as a monster for this. But I cannot do the monster from. It's just, no, it's stupid. And again, 6 months from now we'll have a new edition, no monster bullshit anymore. It's gonna be Ulgu Shadow, I don't know what. And then you're gonna change Ironclads to be Ethereal Shadow Ghosts. I don't know. Let's not go down. It's not gonna happen. Let's not go down that route. It's just the way it is. It's not optimal as it is. Fine by me. Okay.
See, one last counter argument, because you mentioned bring it down. I don't see why they shouldn't get an extra point for doing it. Bring it down on an Ironclad. It doesn't make sense on a gun hauler.
No, they shouldn't.
But if you get, like, the whole point is you put a lot of resource into killing this big, massive behemoth, and you get an extra point for killing it.
No, you just shut down my Ironclad. You're not going to get rewarded. You're going to get slapped.
Well, it's the same. It's the same thing if you kill a Maw Crusher. If you kill a Maw Crusher,
piece of work. This is art flying. It's ingenuity. Yeah. And you're shooting it down and you want a reward? Nah, you're getting a grudge, mate. That's what you're getting.
It's the same,
you're getting minus 10 victory points.
From the perspective of your opponent, when you kill their Maw Crusher, they don't think, oh, well, obviously you should be rewarded for that, do they?
Yeah, because it's a disgusting, stinking cabbage monster.
Yeah.
I'm doing everyone a favor.
Okay.
But the Ironclad, no.
The
Ironclad hasn't hurt anyone.
Let's wait for the Realm of Metal when you get war machinery actions. I don't know what that would be, but I don't know.
And it's a good point by Arcus.
Actions.
There's a good point by Arcus saying he's happy with KO not having monsters because some other armies don't have access to shooting. So it's
that's fair.
Let's not give everything to everyone, because then we will all be playing elves.
Okay. Right. Let's move on then. Well, first of all, actually, before we move on, is there anything that we haven't? We should have done this at the end of the last bit as well. Is there anything here we haven't talked about that maybe they should be thinking about if they want to?
As a whole?
Yeah. Or
I think there's a few
as a whole or for KO.
A few units and a few mechanics that need looking at. Namely Sentinels, Salamanders, Sons of Behemoths, Dragons again. Look at them again. And maybe things like Nagash teleporting and moving afterwards in Bone Reapers. So that seems like an oversight, because they change it for the teleporting spell.
Because if Matt was here, we'd just like moving after teleporting should never happen. Basically,
should never happen unless you're Zulfin. But that's a different.
Yes, because we do it in a different phase. That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah. No. As a whole in the game, I think the most annoying thing currently is the safe stacking, or most problematic in a game that's not. Let's not forget, in a game that is pretty good. Like, we keep finding these things and complaining about them, but as a whole, the game, I think it's more enjoyable than the second edition was. It's more fun. We're seeing, for the statistics, the numbers apparently tell us there's less inequality in like win rates and between army win rates. Okay, there's a few at the bottom, Gits and Beast of Chaos, but Beast of Chaos, they lived at the bottom for all of second edition, so no surprise there.
I think I enjoyed second edition more, but mostly
because you were winning more.
Yes. But I don't enjoy having a shooting phase with my entire army, and I do like no damage.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the problem, not of the edition. It's the problem of that rules that says you can save stack. That allows you. If it were like you cannot get more than +2 or
I
something.
really like
It'd be
some of the
less
additions like
egregious.
battle tactics and stuff. Like they've made the game far more interesting to play. There's a lot more dynamism to the way you actually engage with your opponent there. So that's cool. If you got rid of save stacking, really, save stack, well, generally defensive buffs and how they can stack, because Amulet, Destiny, and Wards are all part, and Bodyguards are all part of that same discussion, then it would actually.
Yeah, it's weird
pretty
because they said,
amazing.
oh, we're getting rid of rerolls because it's making the game much longer. Well, if nothing dies, the game is
It makes the
taking
game much longer.
The game,
Yeah.
and we have a quarter less units because we hiked all the points, and there's a smaller board, less units, and still nothing's dying and it's taking much longer. Like,
There is one other thing,
okay,
which is they've made the board smaller, but they've also, with recent releases, and I say recent, I mean like the last year, maybe in the last year and a half, is everything is getting some sort of crazy move shenanigans, which basically means that, like, you know, like more crushers moving 24 inches or 36 inches, or like the, whatchamacallit, the flying thing in Call Boys, the, what was it, Vulture? That can move 3 times in a phase, or like Alariel moving 32 inches, or dragons moving 24 inches. There is generally and Lumineth being able to move double their movement characteristic. There is too many really strong movement buffs in the game.
Yep.
But I don't know how you solve
strong.
that. I don't know how you solve that with any rule changes. That's a problem with army design.
It is a problem if everything goes back to, we're moving on foot forward to meet the enemy in the middle. Like the first 2 turns, nothing's happening, really.
Yeah.
Your guns are not in range. You're not in range to charge. There's no fights happening. This is like fantasy used to be. You start all with your battle line. Oh, I move forward here. Oh, you move forward here. Oh, I shift over here. You shift it. But nothing has happened yet. There's 3 rounds in the game, and you cast a few spells, and that's it.
But I think it's all the movement things is why some of the big god models and monstery things are so good, is because they can literally just be, okay, I'm at this corner of the battlefield. Next time I'm going to be at that corner. Then I'm going to go to that corner. Then I'm going to go to that corner. There is nowhere safe from the battlefield at all because I can just move so far, and the battlefield has got smaller.
You just described KO.
Yeah, I know. But it's worse though. It's worse with.
It's worse when everyone else can do it.
Moving.
It's not fair.
No, it's worse. It's worse when it's moving as opposed to teleporting, because people think teleporting is worse than moving, but because of the 9-inch away and the fact you can zone stuff out, movement is actually worse. Really high movement is actually far
teleporting
worse for the game than teleporting.
Stronger because you can teleport out of combat.
Well, yeah, but potentially
you cannot move out of. You need to retreat.
Yeah,
you can't double, triple,
KO,
move, charge.
For KO now, it counts as a retreat, and there's lots of teleporting where you can't do it when they're within 3 inches of enemy models. So,
they need to. That's another thing they need to clarify the whole, because that FAQ, which answered 2 questions that weren't the original question, was a bit confusing, in my opinion. Like, can I retreat? Yeah, but it's like a disengage, but I can fly, but then I cannot shoot because he's a flyer, and look, can I fly high or can I not? And yeah, it's a bit complicated.
Okay. This leads on to a comment from the chat from James Power. There should be a change that if a sky vessel loses flying or has its movement reduced, for instance, by an opposition navigator, if you're playing double KO vs KO, then it can't fly high. Now, I mean, that's a good point from a verisimilitude issue. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, when you can only move like 2 inches, but you can fly high and teleport across the board.
There's an interesting thing because I think Lumineth, they have a spell that stops flying. And I play against a friend of mine that often played with his Lumineth, and he's like, "Okay, I stop your flying. You can't fly high." Like, no, flying is one thing, and fly high is an ability. You're not stopping that. And he was like, "No, this can't be. But it doesn't make sense." And it
doesn't make sense.
20-minute discussion going on whether it should be allowed or not. Like, I was trying to explain, no, it's an ability, and this is flying, and it's different. But yeah, same feeling there. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see that happening in this sort of change, but It would be a new book sort of thing. Okay, let's move on to points. Where if you're in the chat and you're watching live, we want to try and get you involved with the points. So yeah, when we get into them, we're going to be asking you for all your suggestions, and we're sort of trying to take an average.
Usually how this works is we write down all our guesses, and then after the FAQ, we plan to look at them and say, were we correct or wrong? Usually we're always wrong because either nothing changed. That was last year, I think. We had a whole show like, and this, and everyone. I wrote down everything, every guess for every unit by everyone in the chat, in the group here, and then nothing changed. I was like that, just the whole show out of the window because it was stupid. So I think let's discuss it this year, but.
Well, let's be honest, we'll forget to go back and check to see how right we were anyway.
Exactly. You can watch back.
Okay.
If you're watching this in the future, write it down.
We're going to start with the heroes, and then I think it goes to units. Oh, no, maybe Skyvessels then. But they're in some sort of order. It's definitely heroes first. The first one, you don't get to vote because it's just give Dagne holding stock some points. I don't care what they are. I just think that a model that's really cool should be playable.
No, because his war scroll has been lost as the whole thing has been lost. He's not available to buy. He will never be. It's just a nice model to have, and that's it. He's not getting any. He's not coming back. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's move
on.
Sorry.
Play him as an admiral. It's a second admiral. He's cool.
I know it's not going to happen, but I had to say it. Also, because I just took last year's screens and I tweaked them around a bit. I was like, well, it had like rest in peace for him. I was like, let's change it. Let's bring back. Like, it's going to be like bring back Tomb Kings. It's going to be bring back Dagne. So, okay, let's move on then. So, Brock Grunson. If you're in the chat, start suggesting points at me.
225.
What points should he be? How low do you need to go? It's like a game of limbo. Like, how low does the rod need to go?
Theoretically, he needs to go lower than the Endrim Master. He needs to be lower than the Endrim Master with dirigible because the Endrim Master with dirigible can do more things. And he's stuck in Nar. And he doesn't only affect Nar units. However, he is a hero named whatever dude. So he's going to be more.
Now, I did make a realization with him the other day that he's got long range -2 range shooting, which is actually not bad with save stacking and stuff. Let's just assume all the changes
you're saying giving him a better command ability. His command ability is pretty good if it weren't KO.
If it's in a melee
24-inch bubble of reroll charges, that would be massive in other armies.
If it was in Zon, it would be really good.
It would be fantastic. It would be great in any other thing, but in stupid Nar, it's useless. He's not gonna get unlocked from Nar because he's a named dude. He's gonna stay in Nar. He's gonna stay the same, in my opinion.
There is a lot of people giving suggestions about how to improve him rather than points because I think there is just an issue with his score.
You didn't understand the game. You need to give points. Lee wants a point.
Maybe I should have given a third option, which is change the war score. I
think the war score is fine. Would you play him at 210? Would you play him at 210? Would you play him at 180?
Yes, maybe. Well, I would consider
it. In Zilfin?
I don't know. No. I don't know. About 180, like, at least he's cheaper than an Endrim Master with Dirigible Suit, who I don't think needs to go up. So.
No, but who can take traits and artifacts?
Yeah.
And has the correct keyword then?
Maybe 175 even.
Yeah, one thing interesting suggestion, make him also unlock Sky Regis as battle line.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Maybe, but that absolutely anything will happen to him.
Give him a war save. James Bowers saying 215. I'm interested to know from these people making like the plus 200 point suggestions whether they would actually play him if he had those points.
That's my problem. If he's anything 200-ish or more, I still wouldn't play him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a sad because it's a cool model. And he's our only hero-ish dude. We don't have gods. No.
Okay.
Not
So
before the next week.
I don't know, Max. What would you suggest? Is that 180? Is that your suggestion?
That's what I'm hoping, but he will stay the same. So is this what's going to happen, or is it what I want?
What we want to happen. We'll do what we want to happen, because if we're just going to stay the same as everything.
I want it to be. He needs to be more expensive than the other dude because he's named, and that's just how the game goes. So 210 is what I think.
You want him to be
what I want. No, I want him to be 90 points, and I wouldn't take him. But
I should have done 2 boxes. I should have done what we want and what we think, and then it would have been.
Okay, let's not prolong this more. I'd consider him at 200.
This is an interesting that you get to pick a type of Skyvessel or infantry and make them battle line. So it doesn't just make everything battle line, but he could potentially.
I don't know. Isn't he the super rich dude? He should just give more Ether gold to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have him in your army, you should get an extra D3 Ether gold, and then if triumphs actually do something good, that could be interesting. It's like going Urbaz, but not going Urbaz. You unlock Urbaz, but with a character.
Okay, so
that'd be interesting. But points.
200. You originally said 180.
Yeah. I want it, but that's just.
I would like something like 180. Some of the chat are saying like 215, 210, 200. So I'm just going to go in the middle and say 200, and then we'll move on because we know he's not going to be playable.
It's not going to happen.
Chase Brown says Ironclads as battle line. Yes, please. Yeah, maybe that suggestion to make you pick a thing and make a battle line. Yeah, I would play him at like 250 points.
If he makes Ironclads battle lines, yes, I play.
Okay.
I even play him in NAR.
Endrin Master with dirigible suit. I would be relatively happy for him to stay the same. Maybe it depends what they do with riggers and wardens.
What was he before? 190, wasn't he?
And
before that, he used to be 200 something. No, he used to be more expensive when the book came out.
Did he? Oh, okay.
And then he went down.
Oh, maybe he was 210.
I'm happy with him staying the same.
The question is, do you use him?
Less, but if I want healing in my list, he's the choice.
Because I
use him less because I don't need to unlock Endrin Riggers because I don't use Endrin Riggers anymore. So I don't need him to unlock battle line. But if I want healing on my Ironclad, he's the choice.
Yeah.
Then yes.
If Endrin Riggers and Wardens get better, then he's like there's more reason to take him. So it's like having a points decrease for him in some ways. It's better.
He's a good hero. 3 up save, 8 wounds. 12-inch movement, shooting. No, it's not for 8 wounds. And flat free healing. That's the big selling point for me. Healing 3 wounds.
Okay, so we'll stay the same?
Yep, I'd be happy with the same.
I should check out if it's put that Brock used to be 240 points. Oh dear. Okay. Endrin Master with Endrin Harness. I'm going to put my stake in the ground and just say 100 because the 105 really annoys me. And I used to be a proponent of having 5. I used to be a proponent of 5-point intervals because it's better. But actually, in KO, it doesn't make any slightest difference except for the fact he might as well be 110 KO because you don't have any. Because Sky Wardens, it doesn't make any difference at 5 points compared to being 110. He might so make him 100. Because realistically, those 5 points.
He's a good hero for 105 points. I don't care. Yeah, sure. But I don't mind him being 105.
It's just annoying.
He can heal, so that's pretty good. It's a good ability, and he's a hero for heroes for 100-ish points are good heroes. He has a free up save.
Saying James Bowers is saying 90.
No, that's too cheap for him for what he does. Because then you'd start
The thing is,
spamming
he
them
does
for healing.
slap, and like I got up
He
against
can
people.
slap. He has a free up save. He can heal. He can issue a command ability. Like he has one on his war scroll. His shot has 1 rend d3 damage, I think. Yeah, his is a short range shot.
Yes, it's fine. Just...
No, he's fine at 100-ish points. Absolutely fine. You can take him to fill out a war up battalion, or give him. He's a good hero to give like a melee artifact if you need to take it from Zon or Fring. So yeah, sure. He's on a 4-up save. Okay. Still good hero. The navigator is on a 3-up, isn't he? Why is the navigator on a 3-up and an Ender Master isn't?
I don't know.
That's weird. Okay.
Jeffrey is saying there's 22 people watching and only 10 likes, so start slapping that like button. I want to know why there's 21 people watching and we're only getting like 3 people in the chat voting for points values. Get in the chat, just type in numbers. It's really easy. You don't have to say anything complicated. Just type in a number and hit enter. So what we're going to click stay the same then.
I'm happy
not
with
happy
him.
About it. I would much rather but I will go with the chat. There's no point me getting the chat involved if I ignore them or having you here either. So yeah, okay.
Okay.
Admiral. I'm going to make the same point. These 5 points make no difference because we don't have units with the 5 points other than Skywardens.
He's good because again, he's a good hero. He gives reroll 1s to hit to ship.
Yeah.
If you're outside of Ring or Zilfin, that's good. He's the only source of battle shock immunity at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going Gnar with that trait.
Or A for gold.
Yeah, but it's like an aura. He is
a
hero who has kind of a ward save because he has that bodyguard thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's
decent.
Okay for that. The point cost is okay for him for what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Do I want him to be less? No. There's other things I want to be less, like ironclads and frigates and gunholders.
Yeah.
Not him. With the heroes, I'm fine.
A point that points values for an army, it's actually pretty bad to just go through one by one like this and to say, oh, this is how much they should be. You should be thinking about them cohesively and how different combinations add up and stuff.
I don't mind the heroes. The heroes are okay for me.
Which is why I say 5 points doesn't make any difference because it's not like. I mean, yeah, maybe it makes a difference when you take a gun order because it's 155, but it might. It could be 130 for most lists. You're right, and it wouldn't make any difference. But say if there were things like if now because if you take Thunderers, you take them in you take them in 10s, so the 135. The fact they end in a 5 doesn't make a difference. So
you're not playing them as 10s. Not playing them as 5s. Yeah. No, yeah. Sure.
So we're going to extend
with the hero. I'm happy with the hero. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Navigator. Do you think there's a case for him to go up to 100?
I can see a case. Because for some armies, these guys are a real pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I show up with my Morathi or my Crusher, whatever, and I'm moving 3 inches or 2 inches or whatever it is, then at the end, like my whole army, I cannot play my game. I cannot have fun. He is turning KO into Luminef. Like I won't let you play your army. So it's a very strong ability. Okay, it's less strong because it's only flyers, but then the strong things are currently flying. So in this edition, he has stonks. He's the only hero that went down in points. He's our source for unbinding.
I was going to put him in a list before an Ender Master, and the Ender Master was saying it's fine at 105. So
I'd put him maybe even before a Chemist in the list. He's very
I don't want him to go up to
and even
too much
multiples.
because
No, but if he goes to 110, I'd still be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So people are saying 100 plus,
100 plus,
since it
105,
stacks.
105.
That's a good
100.
point, William. If they change it that it doesn't stack anymore, then keep him at 95.
Mm-hmm.
If they change it, if they don't change it, then 105, 110, I'm happy. I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, since we say the same with the Endra Master, I think I will put 105 because then if you take an Endra Master and a Navigator, it does make sense that the 5 points makes a difference. Or if you take 2 Navigators, that 5 points gives you 10 points difference. So we'll go 105.
Yeah, currently the 180 points combo is just very good.
To the point that the other day it actually occurred to me, well, actually, why don't I take 3 of these? Because when one, like, quite often you need to make 2 things half move, and if one fails, then it's just like, yeah, what do you do?
Just because you fail rolling 3 ups.
Yes, that's why. Even though I need better dice, because
no, 3 is too many.
Need to make another batch of Aethercast dice and microwave them.
You get problems with Warlock Battalion. If you want to take Chemist 90 points is very good, I think.
Very cheap.
Very cheap hero.
Spelling the bottle is not as good as it used to be.
But re-rolling wounds is good.
Mm-hmm.
Re-rolling is good. -1 to hit is good. He's a cheap hero to fill up battalions. His shot is not bad because it has 2 rend. If you give him Staff of Ocular Optimization, for example, it's 3s and 4s.
And +1 to wound,
re-rolling,
which you can get from Finest Hour, potentially, or a Triumph.
Yeah, or a Triumph. So it's 3s and 3s, re-rolling 1s. In Fring, even re-rolling 1s, re-rolling 1s. 2 rend. So he can be pretty good for 90 points. I think he's cheap for 90 points. What he used to be 100, didn't he? Wasn't he?
I think he's always been 90 points. Hasn't he?
Because no, Navigator, Ender Master, and Chemist were all 100 points, I think.
I mean, it depends how far you go back, because at one point he was 140. So.
Oh yeah, okay. No, with the same abilities, he can stay. If he goes to 100, I'm okay with it.
But before he was 140, he was 100, and then he went to 140, and then he went down again. I don't. It's like the reroll 1s to wound often is like a nice to have, because you can only do it in the ship once per game, and then you've got to be able to get out the ship. Which getting out the ship, like if they fix getting out the ship though, then he gets better.
Whatever, 1900 doesn't change the game.
Should we just say the same? Because we're not saying he definitely needs to go up, or there's no case for him to go down. But
well, I'd be happy if he goes down, but I don't think that's fair. If he goes up, okay. Unless he goes to 150, then I wouldn't play him.
No,
but then, as you said, spell in the bottle isn't that.
If he went above 100, I would be like, yeah, okay. Funrex Profiteers, I don't think it really matters.
Stay the same. You can't even buy these anymore, so you just stay.
You can get them again.
Okay.
I think, but only from Games Workshop or from like the people that order directly from them. Like they drop ship. But it doesn't matter.
What does he do? Reroll 1s to hit. I thought he might get more play. Now he doesn't. No. Stay the same. It's okay. 150 points is fair for a chemist then. 4 dudes.
4 bodies. Yeah. Joto said 125, which I don't know if that's still talking about the chemist or talking about Funrex Profiteers.
I think these are fine. Next.
Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter because most people aren't using them, and they don't care about Warcraft.
They're all using him, but not as a Funric.
And they're not bothered about whether these get used because they don't intend to sell loads of them.
Yeah.
Archon Company. Oh, Jay Duffy was talking about Funric being 125. It's interesting because that'd be the same points as an Admiral. but it's a hero and lots of bodies. Argonaut Company, they used to be 90.
Used to be 90, and they were good at 90. Their battle line at 100 points. They can stay. Do you think they need to go down?
I mean,
I
I don't think there's any case for them to go up.
No, absolutely not, but not go down either.
Is there a case for them to go down? It's like depends, because if you like we talked about changes about units inside boats counting objectives now, which probably aren't going to happen.
No, they're going to stay.
They can, if you buff them well, they can do quite a bit.
But they're limited by their 9 inches PP pistols.
Yeah.
And the chat is saying stay, so put stay.
Cool. And nothing anyone's that worried about. Thunderers, 135. Now, I think these should come down.
Yes, absolutely. They were always expensive. Even at 120 in the old book, I thought that they were too expensive.
I don't think they come down much, though.
Stupid expensive. No, put them at 110.
I'd be happy at 130, to be honest.
No, they're too expensive.
Okay, let me explain some reasoning here, because I don't you write a KO list, yeah. There are certain points values you quite often end up at. You end up at like 1935 or something, or 1925, and you still can't fit anything extra. Or you end up at like 1960, 1970 sort of points range, or you end up at 2005 or 2010. So you don't.
Okay, apparently we write different lists, but okay.
Okay, well, what sort of points do your list go out at?
Either like 260, like damn.
2060, you'll put a lot of expensive stuff in.
Yeah, or usually it's something between 1960 and 1990. So
yeah, I said 1960 to like 90. Actually, 1985 is quite common.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, 1985 is perfectly fine list.
Yeah, but the point is,
but these dudes are
lists.
too expensive.
Yeah, they're too expensive.
Way too expensive. They only wound on 4s. Why do I need to pay 270 points for 10 of these?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have 2 wounds. Yes, they can get an extra shot on Unleash Hell. They have a -1 to hit. But it's a lot of points in a 10-man unit.
But how many points are you saying? Because you're saying about them bringing them down a lot.
I thought that 120 was too much. And I advocated for the Horde discount back when I played 20 that they didn't get. Because then I paid 480 points for those 20, which I felt back in the day was a lot. I guess 120 would be okay.
I mean, there's a lot of 125s in the chat.
Yeah, there's a lot of 120s too. But
there's a couple. Yeah. Interesting thing about if you have an admiral making them battle line, that is interesting. I mean, I want them to come down. I don't think they need to come down much because there is the case of you might take multiples of them. Like I quite often take 20, which means that's if you bring down even 5 points, then you're saving 20 points off a list. Which is if there's other decreases elsewhere in the army potentially, then
they are as a war scroll. They're one of the better units in 3rd edition. I think they're better than Endriggers, much better than Skyriggers, better than Arcanauts, maybe even better than frigates. So they are a good unit for this edition because of Unleash Hell, plus the extra attack, -1 to hit, the 2 wounds they have. Why are they so expensive though?
I think it's just a case of if you make their points just slightly low enough, you can get 30 in a list with ship transport.
Yeah, let's bring it on.
Which is what we probably want.
It wouldn't break the game.
No. So I'm going to put 125, I think. And I'll click on the wrong screen.
Okay.
But yeah, if they went to 120, I'm not going to complain.
250. And then are you going to take a frigate or 10 Thunderers?
Yeah. This is the reason why I would be, personally would have said 130 because I would say a frigate needs to come down and say the frigate come down to 240, then it'd be like, well, combined, a unit of 10 Thunderers and a frigate combined is 500 points rather than 520.
Oh, but a frigate needs to come down much more than 240.
Okay, we'll come to that anyway. End of frigates.
90 points.
90. Ooh, that's a straight up off the bat.
No,
Like
make him
flag
100.
planted.
110.
So should they be cheaper than Arcanauts? Is the question, because they heal boats
No.
and they can fly around with boats. And
I mean, there's only 6 wounds, same save. 9 shots if you take the rivet guns with Ren, so similar output. Yes, they have the Ren 2 D3 damage, but it's 4 attacks. Like, let's not get overexcited about 4 attacks. You're gonna fail 1 at least on the free up. And then you roll 1s for your D3. So I think 120 is, I don't know what they taxed into there. The flying, maybe, the hitching, the repairing.
Hitching.
Maybe nowadays I'm like, I have 150 points left on my list. I could put in Endrin Rigs, and then I'm like, seems a waste because they die too much, way too quickly. Like, not more than 110.
Okay, here's a random suggestion. I know this is not what we're doing. We're meant to be doing points, but should there be 3 wounds each? And narrative, they shouldn't be more wounds than Thunderers, but would that make the difference for the unit?
No.
Because then there'd be 9 wounds.
It wouldn't save them. 9 wounds or 6 wounds. Still going to die quickly. No, they're... by the way, I love that you just copy-pasted the same pose 3 times.
Yes, because the only picture I could find was like the ones with the mixed weapons. And I was like, wow.
Free wound's not going to save them, and then they are on a 32mm base. That's the 2 wound category. So, no, 2 wounds is okay. It's good. It's pretty good actually. Like, I wouldn't, because of coherency and everything. I wouldn't pay 240 points for 6 riggers.
There's an interesting value put in the chat by a couple of people. 105 points, which makes them the same as an Endrin Master.
Yeah.
Which makes them just slightly...
They're similar to the Endrin Master.
The question is, though, does that mean Skywardens can be the same as Arcanauts? Because I think Skywardens have to be lower than Riggers.
Unless they change something about them, yeah, they have to be.
Yeah, I mean, for these point chases, we're just going to assume there's no changes.
For Skywardens, I'd even be happy with 90 points. Because then I'd consider playing them. Like MSU Skywardens as your screens and stuff like that.
Okay. So, should we put 105 or 110? 100? What do we...
I'd not more than 110. Probably less. I think the chat wants 105-ish. So let's put that. It's not going to happen. We can dream. This guy, why is his guy mine behind the frame and the others in front?
Because of the text. Although this text is out. Right.
I'm just nitpicking here. Yeah, we just said it. 90 or 95 points.
90 seems...
They need to be cheap because that stupid bomb thing they have against flying units that charge them
doesn't do anything.
It's gonna do a wound and then they're dead. We can retreat and do D3 model. Like, okay, sure. Whenever did you do that and hope that it will actually kill something? The 2-inch range is great. So they actually are good for reinforced units because of the range.
I want to bring up a point. First of all, I'm not the only person that makes typos, which is good to know.
No, that's intentional. They are.
It's intentional.
Right.
Are they better or worse than Arcanauts? Because they do have 24-inch range shooting.
Well, they have 9-inch shooting.
They can have 2 guys can have 20-point range shooting, which the battle line is very. And obviously, they don't count as many models on objectives, but let's face it, if you are
currently
charged,
they are
probably die.
less good.
Currently,
They want to fill an elite role,
but they're not elite enough. That is, they're not good enough for elite.
They die
It's the same
quick,
with
and they don't do much. What do they do for my army? Like, what's their role? Engine riggers repair. Okay, what do these guys do?
Well, it depends. The role they're meant. We know what the role they're meant to have. They could have, if they're cheap enough, they can have a role. If they just provide long range shooting with -2 rend.
Yeah, although the narrative I think is they should be the close combat fighters. They have 9-inch shooting pistols. They want to get in there and fight people. In zone they can, but not with 3 dudes, or 6. And 9 are just awkward to maneuver. And 9 is 300. No.
Well, if they had +1 rend on the charge, I know we're not talking abilities, but if they did, then they might actually be semi-useful because they've got more attacks than.
Like we would misuse them as long range shooting. Well, that's not the idea behind this unit, I think. So
but I think if they're cheap enough, then you would just put them as you just take an Endmaster or Druid as general, use them as battle line, and they contribute to the battle because they can shoot so far on a small table.
We showed up. We contributed. Yes.
As opposed to Arcanauts, which could say that they didn't contribute.
They need to go below 100. If not, I'm not taking them. I'm not using them, and I have 12 painted. And
okay.
Which is a shame. Because they're cool models.
Got from the chat. I'm trying to watch. The trouble is, there's just so many numbers. It's like, what were they from? Were they from the Riggers chat, or were they from the?
We had it started from the 90, 100, 95.
Okay, we'll go with 95 then, because that's split in the middle.
95 be fair, but that's 20 points down. I don't think they'll do that. They might go 5 points down each. Sure. Still wouldn't consider them.
What did we put for Riggers? 105.
Yeah, 95 is fair.
So they can't. They've got to be 100 or 95 then.
Let's put 95.
Or maybe 90, but
they should be 90. But let's say 95.
Okay.
It's not gonna change. Yeah, no, not that much.
154. Okay, gun haulers.
They're too expensive.
Yes.
I'm gonna say that. They were too good at 120. In that
they were too good at 130
environments.
They were 130.
Were they 130?
Yeah.
They used to be 150 before at one point, and then already I was debating it. 155 is too expensive. They're getting hung up on this. I can bring 6 dudes and teleport them.
Yes, but we don't want
dudes. And then I have 6 engine riggers and a boat. It's not gonna do anything.
So
it's gonna do 2 wounds from shooting, and then it's gonna die.
Sometimes it doesn't do anything because it has 3 attacks.
No, this thing is the only use currently is mobility and ward save for your ships. So I think 130 would be fair. So chat is saying 135, 140, 140. Okay.
My gut instinct is 140 because, again, thinking forwards, it's depending on what you say the frigate is, then it's like frigate plus unit is the same as, or gun hauler plus unit is the same as a frigate. And then you've got this modularity type thing. They definitely need to come down. I think 130 is maybe too low. But,
okay, 135, but okay, even 100. I'm still going to put them in at the 140 because they go into all my lists, Ironclad and a gun hauler. But they're too expensive now, so I'm not sure what is a good value. 130 would be a steal, maybe. But it depends on the rest of the army. Depends where do frigates land and where do ironclads land.
Yeah.
Because they always compare with frigates. I'm getting 100 and so for 310 points, I get 2 gun haulers, and I get 1 frigate for 250 currently. So that's a lot of points for gun haulers. So I think those two always need to be a bit compared, and the frigates need to be compared to an ironclad. Do I take 2 frigates or 1 ironclad? That's always the question.
Yeah, or it's like a frigate and a frigate with 10 thunderers, or an ironclad, or 2 frigates and an ironclad, a gun hauler and a unit compared to a frigate.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you're taking a gun hauler, it should be gun hauler with riggers or wardens compared to either an ironclad.
Even gun haulers on their own. And then let's think about what can gun haulers do in other armies as allies. They just sit there, are mobile, and shoot drill cannons.
I mean, they do have 36 inch range, which is and -3 rend.
Yeah, what's that hits on 4 or 3?
Realistically, how many can you fit in a list these days if you have 2 heroes? So
because at 140, I can still not fit 3 of them in.
Yeah, you can fit 11 at the moment, realistically, in a list.
Okay, that's what Seb does, but
no, I just wondering because there is a danger, say, if you went down to like a stupidly low amount, that you can then fit like 15, and actually,
I think
all
something
that
between
shooting every turn onto something else with -3 rend.
I mean, let's not get hung up on this too much, but somewhere between 130 and 140 would be acceptable.
Okay, well, let's put 135 then. That's in the middle of the lower half of what people are saying. And it's a 20-point decrease, which is sizable.
Yeah.
Frigate then, which we alluded to a couple of times, which obviously means it needs a decrease.
Absolutely.
Is 240 enough, or does it need to be lower?
More. It used to be 220. Used to be 220. And I think that's a fair number in 3rd edition.
Okay, that's 30.
Because I believe that 2 frigates do not equal 1 ironclad, and the ironclad's at 490.
Do you think with the changes to command abilities, they have essentially got better though, because you can put a unit of thunderers in, and the thunderers can buff themselves, which previously you couldn't buff the thunderers?
Yes, but who's buffing who's helping the frigate? You always the frigate needs a hero. Skyvessels need a hero inside to work at their best, and that's the problem with the frigate.
You can buff 1 unit, maybe 2 units of shooting phase. If you have a frigate,
it's not just like you have a frigate out there and you want to redeploy, you can't.
Okay.
If you don't have a hero. Mm-hmm. So that's something I learned in another game lately, where I disembarked my heroes, and then I had the ironclad and the frigate flying around on their own. It's just you lose a lot of options.
We should have brought this up earlier with the KO changes when we were talking about Skyvessels, and I completely forgot to add it to the screen. They should all just be elite and be able to use issue command abilities. Maybe you can make a case for not the gun hauler. Yeah, but I think if a gyrocopter can. And then why can't I go on?
Yeah, that's fair. Yes, because they have on the war scroll it says they have a navigator and they have an engine master on board.
Yeah.
On the war scroll, so they can reroll runs and they can they can heal.
Yeah.
Why the heck don't they have a captain that can issue commands? Like he's there. I can see the model. So yes, that's a change. If he gets that, then 230 is fine.
Yeah, and this guy's not even doing anything. This one here, he's literally just there to shout over the.
Well, he's the engine master, isn't he? He's the repair. He has the little oil cannon.
The reason that he can only heal 1 and the other one can heal more is because he has a smaller hammer.
Yeah, he can.
So what about the size of your hammer?
Ding, 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 ding,
so I mean,
he's putting in the effort.
Let's assume they don't get elite.
If they don't,
So they
200.
don't get elite, and then we're saying if they do get elite. Yeah, I think if they don't get elite, then you need to go relatively low. If they get elite, you could
Yes.
probably say 240, and they're fine.
Still, I'd like it at 230, I think.
Because what
250 is a lot of points. I said 100 and I don't know.
What did we go
20,
for?
25?
I can't remember.
I don't know.
Thunder's 125. So if you had... Okay, so they need to... Yeah,
Then
if they were
225.
240, if they were 240 and they had... We said 125 for Thunderers. So if you had 10 Thunderers and a frigate, they would cost 490, which is currently what an Ironclad is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it needs to be less
than
Ironclad.
It needs to be less than that.
Let's say if we wanted it to come down to like 10 points less than an Ironclad, that combination, then it'd be 230.
Yeah. With Elite 230, without 220 or less.
Yeah.
Is my opinion. Because the only reason to play frigates currently is because they can be battle line. Because they're 250 for the shooting is the same as a gun hunter, let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's appalling.
Yeah, the carbines are a little bit better, but quite often, like if you fly multiple ships to a place, is you get your ironclads carbines in, and then other ships are potentially further away because you can't get the 12 inches in.
The frigate, so often the frigate is like, oh, can I roll d6? Okay, 2 shots. Do this.
Yeah, one shot.
Then I have 4 shots here, and that's it. Like, oh, okay, that's all I have. Like, what? That's all you have? Yeah, that's all the ship has.
Mm-hmm.
It's not much. The output is not the main reason.
Or you go for the single. Transport. You go for the single attack. You hit, you wound. You start getting excited. They fail their save, and then you roll your damage, and you get a 1 or 2. And it's
like. I mean, yeah, that's the other option.
Yeah. So without having
but I can actually see them giving ships elite. That's an easy thing they could do, and I'd love that.
And even it could just be, it could be. It might be all 3 ships. It could just be maybe the frigate and the ironclad. But
yeah, if they put elite, okay, that's cool. That's a cool change, and that's I think not too unrealistic.
Okay, if they don't, what we're gonna say? I mean, could you potentially say 200? Is that too low?
Maybe that's a bit low. 210. I don't know. But 250 is way too expensive. It only has a 4-up save. What does it have? 14 wounds. It's not
14,
it's not very durable. And it has shit entering works. So that's a lot.
Okay, so we'll say 230, assuming it gets elite, and like 210, 215 maybe at the most, maybe going down to 205 or 200 if it's not.
That's not.
They're not going to happen.
I can see that it's going to happen at 240 or something.
Yeah, and then the next year, and then it will. Yeah. Okay, Ironclad.
Needs to go down. Absolutely.
Interesting. I think there's actually potentially a case of all the things in the army. This could potentially go up.
What? Without any changes to the war scroll.
Yeah, just for internal balance of the army, like it is at the moment stand out the best. And it's like you can only decrease something so much. So it's like you put the ironclad up, but then you put other things down to kind of make up for it. And
so here's the argument. You look at 2 Storm Drakes. For now, 340.
The Storm Drakes need
more
to go
than
up.
an Ironclad.
Storm Drakes. They do more than compare everything to Storm Drakes.
Okay. Well, that's the scale we have currently. It's the newest thing, and it's the most recently updated.
But for what they do, if you did that for every unit in the game, you put everything down in the game. The game, but down in points.
Yes, we put everything up 10% in summer.
Or you could just put the Storm Drake guard up. Let's just put the Storm Drake guard back up, and then
yes. Although you won't put them in the 400 region. No, what I'm saying is, if you make that comparison, there's a big difference. Okay, agree that an ironclad at 340 would be too good, because then you run 3 minimum.
340 is ridiculously cheap. I mean,
you're gonna run 3 ironclads. So it needs a 450.
sizable.
Yes.
The chat is very silent on this one. Although Joe Jeffries said he's just bought his first ironclad. I mean, the thing is, like, we went through a stage where ironclads were 380, and I still never bought a second ironclad. It was only after third edition I bought a second ironclad, and I know there are people trying 3 ironclad lists already at 490.
Yeah. So 340 on battle line. That's too good. That's too good.
Yeah, you can tell he's just bought one.
Below 400 is too good. How much? What are other comparable things?
I just want to bring this up. William Bromley says it's not the points that the issue across the army completely, and other wars costs need rebalancing some writing as well, which is probably true. Like,
then
trying to fix KO with points is not the way to
No, it's not going to work. You need to fix KO with either a lot of war scrolls or just a new book.
Okay, so we're doing what we want to happen.
If it's going to be 450,
we don't want it.
There's going to be an outcry because people still see the ironclad as this big bad monster that's going to annihilate their army.
Well, the other thing is, let's just say we just said that the frigate is going to be 230. Like, so 2 frigates would then cost
2 frigates
460. So it needs to be more than 2 frigates. So it needs to be.
Yeah, but I said a frigate should be 200, so 400. So 410.
Also, bear in mind, it's going to get the elite keyword.
Okay, with elite, 4.6.
475?
A lot of points. No, 450.
450.
So wish.
How many could you fit?
Fear 500 expected.
Okay, let's do the.
That's 40 points. With 80 points, you can't buy anything.
Times by 3. What did we say on Arcanauts? We kept them the same, so that's 1650 points without heroes. And how much did we say navigators were going to be?
Maybe go up to
105,
110.
So 315 if you had 3. So you could fit 3 navigators, 3 ironclads, 3 units of Arcanauts for 1965 at 450 points.
That's not a bad army against some. It will struggle on the objective game as all. And then the ironclad still has the issue with placing the. But okay, so we have 40 points spare, so we could even make it 460, and that army would still work.
We said I think 475 is interesting because we said Thunderers 125, so there's like a unit of Thunderers plus the ship is then is like around 600 points, or an Admiral plus the ship is 600 points.
An Admiral plus an ironclad is not worth 600 points.
Well, at the moment you're paying a lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole different issue. 450 would be my wish list, but
William Bond said 460. Keith George says wish for 450, fear for 500.
It used to be 510, didn't it?
Yeah.
So
it used to be 510. I mean, this is the model it's varied so much over the course of its life.
It's been where 510, 480,
It started at 440, went to 380, went to 510 from 380, and now then to 490. I think they don't want people running. They don't really want people.
But it's. I mean, it's our big monster.
Yeah.
Let us have our big bad thing.
Taking like triple Maw-Crusher lists. So why can't we have triple Ironclad lists?
They're taking 4 Gargants. So let me have 2 Ironclads.
Okay, so we need 4 Ironclads. Is what you're saying? If they can have 4,
and we're going to the 340.
No. Okay,
No,
I mean, 450 sounds
460.
very cheap to me, but
It's not. Look at the output of the Ironclad nowadays. It's not killing much. Unless it is running around on a 5-up save. So basically chaff.
it does. Yeah, change over some interesting point. It does give +1 save and -1 to hit for the units inside it, which is
Not against mortal wound shooting. It doesn't.
no. So I mean, I might put 460 down. There's been some people say 460. I don't know. One person said 460.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, a 460.
It's not going to happen. Who cares?
Right.
But
let's put 460.
We agree that it should go down. We all agree it should go down.
Yeah, how much by? I mean, that's the last one. So, I mean, so go forth and make lists with these points. I don't know. Have we done
make
them
a list
so
with these points and let us know if you actually
if it's broken or if it's actually better.
It's not broken.
Because this is the thing: is afterwards you have to look at the points cohesively and go like, well, does this actually make any difference to the army? Because if it's like, okay, now I get a triumph when I didn't get a triumph before, it's pointless. If it's like you get one extra unit that you couldn't do and it actually is useful, like getting 1 unit of riggers doesn't make a difference. If it means that you, instead of getting a unit of 3 riggers, you get a unit of 6, okay, that's relatively useful. If you can suddenly get in an extra 10 thunderers, that makes a big difference. I don't think we drop the points that much to do that though.
No. I think in total we changed like maybe 60 points. So it's not going to change.
Yeah, I mean, if you're taking an ironclad with buoyancy aid and 20 thunderers, and you've saved a fair bit potentially, because we got 10 points on each.
Okay.
I don't know.
What's next?
Well, that's it. That's what I said. It's the last one. We've done all the.
Okay.
Unless you want to talk about some points for other stuff, but like allies or whatever. But it's Stormdrake Guard are only likely to go up.
Kurfka Berserkers need to go down. Because you can only run 10 now and they're too expensive. But they have a whole different problem in that army. Just maybe to conclude the show, my biggest wish would be they change some of the save stacking aspects.
Yes, definitely.
But I'm not sure they'd go that deep in a like mid-season update. My other wish would be clarification on some rules, like garrisoning with boats, getting in, getting out, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. We have a question in the chat from William. Can a unit embarked on a sky vessel redeploy out of the ship?
Yeah, so it's no.
It makes a move. Makes a T6 move. But it is in the enemy movement phase.
The thing is, getting out of a ship now is not tied to a move. Getting into a ship is instead of a normal move. Getting out is just at the end of the movement phase. You get out.
And it's not in the movement phase, so no.
Yeah. I think it. I can't remember if it specifically says the end of your movement phase, but it must do, because if not, why are we complaining about KO? Because if you can get out in your opponent's movement phase, then all of a sudden they're much better.
Absolutely, yeah.
It must. I'm sure I checked that before. This is your movement phase, but yeah, redeploy doesn't happen at the end of the movement phase, so it doesn't allow you to get out, unfortunately. Yeah, but yeah, as you said, save stacking is the big thing, because the thing is, if save stacking does get a nerf, KO gets better. Anyway.
Yeah, basically we get our damage higher, and as we said, one way to play KO currently is you get an objective if you shot everything off it. And yeah, so that would help.
I mean, if we get to the point where we can take out big monsters, maybe not mega gargants in one shooting phase, then
Well,
we
I
have a
strongly
much better chance
believe
of this.
2,000 points of a shooting army should kill 40, 80, or 40, 90 points, or whatever it is, Mega Gargants. Like already, I'm putting 4 times more points into shooting off this one unit. If you think about it, that's atrocious. It should work, and it's not.
Well, my point I would say is it doesn't necessarily have to be guaranteed. Like it should be the case of okay, well, you park
shouldn't be guaranteed, but it should be a threat. It should be a considerable threat for your opponent. Like if you put a Gargan out there, he might probably die.
Yeah. Like if you leave him on 1 or 2 wounds, like if it ends up like that, then that's still fine because then it's like okay, well if they charge, it's probably going to die. But at the moment, it's at the situation like a 16 wound model, and your entire army can shoot at it and potentially not kill it. So that's the issue. If you watch this video in the future, then maybe comment, put your suggestions for points changes.
Put your ideas on the comment, please.
Your ideas for changes that would be good for KO. War scroll changes of triumphs, that sort of thing. Or for the game as a whole. Maybe you just hate Sentinels and you've got a solution to them. I don't know.
I think if Sentinels, can be fixed with points.
Yeah, probably.
Because how much are they? 2 something? I don't know, 100. If they go up considerably and you cannot fit in other stuff, then those lists just fall apart. And 20 Sentinels are okay. It's the 30 plus range that gets oppressive. Because 19 shots, a third of those, so that's 6 mortal wounds. Okay, sure. With re-rolling all the hits, okay, 10, 12 mortal wounds. I can survive. Like an army should be able to survive 12 mortal wounds in the first turn. But if you're talking 19, 20 mortal wounds first turn, that's some armies that's just like 3 of your small heroes. They're gone. And now your army doesn't work anymore. So Sentinels, I think, can be fixed. Foxes, we don't mind the Foxes because we shoot before they move. But other armies, like they cannot participate in the game. So, and it should never have been you move in your opponent's shooting phase. It should never have been that. They confirmed it, but that's just wrong. And now I think they understand that. Salamanders, they have always been too cheap. They should go up in points. 2 years too late, but okay, better late than never. And it would not destroy those armies.
No. Because they have so many different options.
And Gargans, they at least in my meta, they seem to fade a bit away.
They appear to be less popular now than they were.
Yes, because Ironjaws, Dragons, Seraphon, some Soul Blight builds, they can put out the damage. They can kill Gargans.
I think potentially people are just bored of them as well, because I don't think there's much.
Yeah.
Like many different interesting things you can do with them and play with them, and it's a little bit one-dimensional. So
it is very boring.
Yeah,
but it's a nice entry to the game itself. Like you buy these 4 models, you paint them up, and you can play with good results without thinking too much. Cool. I mean, I started tournament play with Fireslays. It was push up these Hearth guards, keep them all holy within 12, fight first. Let's be honest. It's not. It wasn't a hard army to play.
We're getting some comments from the chat saying it's a great stream. Thanks as always, which is a good hint that we finished. Yeah, we're just going off on random tangents now.
That's the thing. When we talk about AOS, we'll just continue talking, and when we stop this chat, and Lee doesn't need to go to the toilet immediately, we'll continue talking for another 2 hours.
Yeah, probably.
So let's end it here.
Yeah,
I think 2 hours
Thanks
and
for
20.
Yeah,
enough. We had a lot of people watching, about 20 people, so thank you for that. That's great. Maybe half of those people were thinking we had some insights or news.
I don't know.
So
We didn't.
that helped. If you have suggestions, comments, please leave a comment.
Yeah.
And keep an eye out. We'll definitely do more shows now with FAQs and maybe an Urkel book release. Maybe we see at Christmas we always get a lot of rumor engines and releases and hints. Maybe there's something there. After Christmas, maybe there's a preview show. I don't know. They haven't announced. Maybe. So yeah, stay tuned.
And lastly, last year we did, like as a Christmas / New Year special, an Aether quiz. So if you're interested in an Aether quiz this year, yeah, let me know in the comments, and I will, because it does take a lot of work to come up with the questions, and especially since I've done all the easy, like the obvious questions, like to do without repeating questions. But if people want it, then I will do it because I think it was fun. But,
I mean, yeah, Aether quiz or even Age of Sigmar quiz.
Yeah.
I mean, we could broaden it out a bit.
Well, maybe the Warden quiz.
That was always fun. So you can participate. You can put your answers in the chat, and we'll see who's the winner. And you gain all the glory.
I was hoping to maybe have Aether gold tokens as a prize, but they're just in the ether at the moment. They haven't.
Everything takes a long time with suppliers and shipping, and
just deciding prices and working out what they're going to be.
Yeah, there's a good
suggestion
from Durford, a Dwarden quiz. I can see that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys.
Cool. All right, thanks for watching,
thanks
everyone.
so much.
Thanks for joining me as always, Max.
Preparing everything.
We'll see you again next time, Skyvessels. Goodbye.
Bye, mate.